Hey guys, today we are talking about the MCU, specifically Spider-Man 3, which just started being filmed. I want to say probably within about the past 3 or 4 days. There's been a lot of speculation out there, rumors in terms of what are they going to do, what could they possibly do. So I want to touch on some of those theories. In doing so, I'm going to do it in order. Obviously, I'm going to start with what we know and go through. There's two or three different ways that they could do this, and it's Marvel, so I don't know really what to expect, but I wouldn't expect the obvious. All right, so here we go. Let's just jump on in. Based on what we know, okay, at this point, I got it all on my laptop here. There's a lot to go over. We do know that Peter Parker, Spider Man, he is the reason that Vulture and Scorpion are currently in prison. At the end of Homecoming, he took down Vulture. He went in there. He was in prison, and then he had that short conversation, the end credit scene with Scorpion. So we know those two pieces are there. Okay. And again, as we go through, it'll tally up and start to make sense. I'm not doing this for no reason. Just kind of stick with me here. We don't know the current status of the Shocker. Now, the last time that we saw the Shocker was again in Homecoming. After Peter was going to the dance, he ran out the back, and I believe it was Ned that had done something to him, and Peter stuck him to the bus. That was the last time we saw Shocker. So Shocker is still around. His current status is MIA. Okay, there's three. Aaron Davis. All right, that was the Donald Glover character. He is in this universe. No real status, but we just know the character is there. Mysterio. It appears he was killed by Spider-Man. I don't necessarily believe that. But again, so Mysterio is kind of just a big question mark of where is he, what's his status, is he not, we don't know. It's just a really big question mark at this point. Everybody knows that basically Spider-Man is Peter Parker, so that identity has been revealed based on that end credit scene. So we know that, so now he's kind of whether is he on the run, is he being hunted, we don't know, but he's not a secret anymore. Everybody knows who he is. And then the other part we know, which has been no big secret, is that Jamie Foxx is going to be in Spider-Man 3 as Electro. Now, what we don't know is it going to be his version of Electro from The Amazing Spider-Man, or is it going to be a different Electro and he's just going to be doing the character again? That we don't really know. We just know that Jamie Foxx is going to be doing that character. All right. So just going through. So I got a few different theories here, so I want to go through here with you piece by piece on here. So now going through on there, we know, okay, there's those few characters on there. We say, all right, well, what can this movie be about? Okay. This is a very possible theory, but I think it's unlikely just because it is a little bit too obvious, okay? I think that there's a chance, like I said, I don't think it's likely yet, but I think there's a chance that this could be a Sinister 6 movie. All right, like I said, if you go through and you think about it, going through the other movies, all right, we figure we have Vulture, who we know, Scorpion we know, Shocker we know, Mysterio, again, we don't know. He could be alive, could not be, don't know. I would assume he probably is. So you figure there's four, okay? Electro, coming into this movie, that would be five. So you would just need another sixth member for that Sinister Six. The only problem is, I think doing it in this movie, it would feel like, if you think about the original Spider-Man 3 with Tobey and Venom, of all of that got rushed. You know, if you think about DC doing the Justice League, all of it got rushed. And when it gets rushed, it doesn't feel right. It doesn't translate good to the screen. Marvel's never done that where they've rushed anything and it's been done wrong. They always set it up and explain it. So if you're going in for the first time it all makes sense and you know what everything is. So could they do it? Yes, but I just don't think that that would be the best feel for it. They could do some things on here, which is going to be part of my next theory. But I think that what's going to happen for theory B is going to allow development and growth for one of the other main characters, which we'll see down the road. Okay. So going down here, if we say, okay, well, what's theory B, right? Craven has been a big speculation and rumor tied to this movie. Okay. Now, Craven the Hunter, again, I tried to do some research on him, couldn't find much that made sense on how it would tie possibly into the MCU. So my theory here is just about how do you try to make it work, okay? MCU likes to try to stick to the comics as much as possible, but if things don't make sense, they kind of have to tweak it, change the story, modernize it, do whatever they got to do to make it right, okay? So while we know that he could be, in a sense, a modern day mercenary bounty hunter, right? Hired by the Kingpin. Now, if we think about this, how does the Kingpin come into play, right? Well, Kingpin, obviously, he's one of those big villains that's based out of New York, okay? Most of the MCU is based out of New York, so that's there. So let's just stop for a second. If you think about the end of Homecoming, which was the first Spider-Man movie, and the beginning of Infinity War, there was a 2-year period for Peter Parker to be a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, okay? So he had 2 years to be able to do some things in which in that time he could have messed up some business, and which would be basically some business dealings for Kingpin, right? So this kind of buildup would be off-screen stuff. In that sense, now, okay, so he's messing some stuff up. Mysterio makes the announcement. Now everybody who likes Peter Parker, or likes Spider-Man, or knows Peter Parker, everyone knows that Peter Parker is Spider-Man, Spider-Man's Peter Parker, and now it's just open information, right? Well, if we do that, he's got to be on the run. He's got to be careful. He's going to be kind of in hiding. It's going to be tough, but everything's going to tie to his Aunt May. Well, okay. So, in order to get a lawyer, need a lawyer, could you do something with Matt Murdock? I've read a few different speculations and possibilities that was how a meeting occurred. Now, we do know that in the MCU, with Daredevil, he's never been in the movies, but on the Netflix series, all of those characters, Iron Fist, Luke Cage, Jessica Jones, Daredevil, the Punisher, all of those characters, the Defenders, all of those characters, that does take place within the MCU world. It's just because they do make references. It's just an awful smaller scale side story, just kind of like Avengers of S.H.I.E.L.D. was. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So if we do something like that, right? Okay, so that's not a problem. So Kingpin can hire Craven. Now he's got to go and do that. Now, off to the side, another thing that he can do is, if that doesn't work, or if that's like the main part, if you go through and do some research, right? The Kingpin was the creator. I'm going to pull this up on my phone because I want to read this. This is kind of important. He was the creator of the Insidious Six. Now, the Insidious Six was basically the A version of what later became the Sinister Six. Okay? So I'm just going to read this off my phone. Now, what he did was originally he had broke the following people out of jail. He broke out Doc Ock, Chameleon, Scorpion, Shocker, Rhino, Vulture, and Mysterio. He broke all of them out of jail. Okay. Now, again, out here it says Kingpin. He's the man who formed the team for his own purposes. Mysterio apparently was killed. Rhino had worked with Kingpin and Shocker before. Scorpion, it doesn't say anything. Shocker worked with Kingpin and Rhino before, and Vulture replaced Mysterio. So again, Mysterio is apparently killed, but not definitely. Vulture and Shocker, they worked together. There's that connection. Rhino can be brought in somehow, possibly. Chameleon, there's nothing showing, and Doc Ock, there's nothing showing. Now, the other part on here, but it's like, well, wait a minute, is we're talking about Electro with Jamie Foxx. If you go through and look on here, there is a portion that says where they were unsuccessful in defeating Spider-Man. They split up and concentrated on their own solo efforts. When Kingpin devised a new plan for world domination, he once again called the Six, replacing the late Mysterio with Vulture. After helping him locate the six keys required the Doomsday weapon in helping create Electro. So it sounds like there was something there in which was a fluke in which Electro had been created. Okay, so Electro is the key behind all of this because, and even with, you figure with Toby and Andrew Garfield, because how are they coming into this universe? Is it something with, again, the multiverse of madness going on with Doctor Strange? Now, Doctor Strange is busy during Far From Home. That's why he couldn't help. If you go through, they actually make a reference to that. So is it something going on there? We don't know. So that's the big question, is how does Toby get here? How does Andrew Garfield get here? And Electro, how does he get here? So basically with my theory B here is you could do something where you have Kraven be the main point on here, and they go through, and he's kind of pulling strings behind in the background to kind of have all of them come together. And then it could be a situation that maybe Kraven fails, and then within the next movie in Spider-Man 4, that would truly be the Spider-Man 4 would truly be the Sinister 6 movie. You know what I mean? Because here's the other thing, before I start on that, if you do some research on Doc Ock, this is important if you think about it, especially how they changed Vulture. Doc Ock, he could be an employee in Oscorp. We know that they're going to bring Oscorp into the MCU. Oscorp is going to be into the old Stark and then to what became the Avengers building. At the end of Homecoming, they were moving that out, so that building was becoming vacant. So we know Oscorp is going to go in there. They've talked about having Matthew McConaughey, Jim Carrey, a bunch of different people going through auditioning for that part. So it's going to be a big part. But you could do something like that and say, okay, well, Doc Ock could be an employee there. Now Doc Ock does have engineering, scientific, inventor, nuclear, and atomic backgrounds. So there's a lot of technical things that he could basically be doing and working on. You tease that, like small pieces through the movie, and then at the end of Spider-Man 3, you can have it where Doc Ock is basically breaking Vulture and Scorpion out of prison because of Kingpin wants him to basically create this group for the next movie. And then you kind of have your pieces coming together. In that sense, like I said, that little rollover, if we go to Theory C here, which could be a good possible one. Again, Doc Ock could have been previously introduced at the end of the third movie if this theory sticks. It's kind of essentially a two-part theory on there. We know Vulture and Scorpion are there, so they could have been broken out by Kingpin, which Kingpin would have had Doc Ock do. Vulture would possibly need another suit because, again, he went to prison. At that point, Scorpion can make a tech suit at the same time. Because remember, they had all these materials and armors and things from when they were cleaning up the Chitauri. And even what they didn't have left, they knew where it was. They were robbing it, they were selling it. We saw Pete get locked in that entire storage container. So we know there's plenty of it out there. What's to say that they can't do the same thing? Vulture, he should be able to contact Shocker somehow, right? Like I said, Mysterio, that's still a big question. I think he would still be alive. All right, he is an illusionist, so there's that opportunity. So the only questions in this theory would be: is Electro still around? What happens to him in this third movie? If we were to go to a fourth movie, if that worked, what happens to Craven? And then do maybe they do something where they intro a character in this next movie? You figure for maybe like Chameleon or the Lizard, they were both scientist, tech, bio type characters. So something weird could happen there. Rhino, well, that can be kind of flip floppy. Who knows there? That's something that sounds like there was already a connection to the Kingpin character. So there's a few different things. For the longest time, I seriously thought that this was going to be the Sinister Six movie because it makes sense. You figure of everything that's played out in the MCU, Spider-Man so far. Now, figure Jamie Foxx, that makes 5. You only need 1 more. It's very simple. It's a given. It's easy. But like I said, I just think it would be too rushed and it's too obvious. So I think they might phase it out and stage it. If you got any questions, definitely put them in the comments, and I'll get into it a little bit more. This could have easily been like a 35, 40-minute video. I didn't want to do that. I may have missed a few things, made it sound confusing, but this stuff is definitely there. I've got the notes, like I said. If you go through and just do simple research on the fandom, the Marvel, Wikipedia, all of that, they have the information. You can kind of see how the points and the ties come together. So that's all I got right now. If you liked what you heard, like what I had to say, hit the like, give me a subscribe. I got 2 other Marvel movies videos I'm working on right now. The other one is going to be about Miles Morales coming into the MCU. That one, I want to look into that one a little bit more, but that should be out soon. And then I got some other miscellaneous videos coming on. So like I said, hit the like, hit the subscribe, and let me know in the comments what you think. I look forward to hearing from you. Talk to you guys soon.